the floor today to talk about our economy. You know, the president has been doing a lot of bragging these days about the economy. Last week it was Virginia. Later this week it's Philadelphia. And he's in New York City today. He's going to be here on Capitol Hill down the hall in the House next Tuesday night with the State of the Union. You know, the American people that I talk to, and looking at statistics and poll numbers from around the country, the American people just don't believe the president had anything to brag about. Now, when you look at the economy that's facing our nation today, 2/3 of people in polls out this weekend say that they disapprove of the way Joe Biden is handling the economy. Disapprove, doing a bad job, country heading in the wrong direction. And it's really a problem when 70% of the people think the country in which they live, the country they love, is heading in the wrong direction. Why would they say it? Well, they take a look at their own personal situation, because the average American family has lost more than $10,000 to higher prices since Joe Biden took office just 2 years ago. And now what we're seeing across the country is more and more signs of the economy slowing down. Last week we found out that the economy had slowed down at the end of last year. Last year the economy grew at only a rate of 2.1% for the entire year. The White House predicted that it would be 3.8%, so much below what the president and the White House had predicted. Actually, they missed by almost half. And this is just the latest in a long list of disappointments that have affected the people all across the country over the last 2 years. We found out Friday that consumer spending has dropped again. This week, working families are now getting another punch to the gut. Economists are predicting that the Federal Reserve is likely going to raise interest rates again in just 2 days. More rate hikes are going to make it even more expensive to borrow money. It's going to slow the economy down even further. You know, over the last year, we've seen the largest rate hikes in 40 years. Average rate of new mortgages doubled since Joe Biden became president. Credit card interest, all-time high. Higher rates, harder to buy a home, harder to buy a house, harder to pay off a credit card debt. It's no surprise that mortgage applications recently hit their lowest level in 25 years. People say they can't afford it at these rates. This is very bitter medicine for the American people to take, because they've been living through the worst inflation in 40 years. So why do we have the worst inflation in 40 years? Well, it's obvious. It's the massive spending done by the Democrats on a strictly party line basis, and the fact that the Democrats shut down American energy. You talk about a 1-2 punch. Trying to kill the American energy industry, and massive amounts of spending on top of it. Inflation, a 40-year high. People suffering all around the country. And now economists are predicting another recession coming this year. What does that mean? Well, it means more pain for people, more punishment for families who are just trying to get by, who are trying to put food on the table, and food prices have skyrocketed again. The American dream is moving further and further out of reach for many, many American families. According to the Gallup poll group, the faith in the American dream recently hit an all-time low. How could that happen? Record numbers of people surprisingly believe that their children will have a lower standard of living than they've had. That's not the way my parents looked at me when I was growing up, or your parents did, Mr. President, when you were growing up. The American dream was about a better next generation. Parents today don't see that for their kids, because they see what they see going around their communities and this country. Many young people are giving up on their hope to buy a home someday. Families trying to get ahead are having a harder time, and many falling behind. Didn't have to be this way. Oh no, this is a result of the decisions that Joe Biden made and the inflation that Joe Biden and the Democrats have brought upon this country. Remember, when Joe Biden took office just 2 years ago, inflation in this country was virtually non-existent. Typical 30-year mortgage went for less than 4%. The lockdowns from the pandemic were coming to an end. The economy was ready to take off. And then in March of 2021, Mr. President, with every Democrat voting for it and every Republican voting against it, Democrats printed $2 trillion and added it to the national debt. Republicans warned the Democrats, don't do it, don't do this, don't print the money, don't spend the money, don't add it to the debt. We said it would cost inflation, and it wasn't just Republicans that were saying it. Democrats' own economic experts warned them, don't spend the money. It's going to jazz up the economy to the point of more money in, prices are going to go chasing it, and prices will go up. Democrat advisors like those of former President Obama's advisors, Larry Summers, Jason Furman, Steve Rattner, to name just a few. Democrats in Washington, in this body, on this side of the floor, ignored the whole thing, refused to listen. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in the House said, we don't want to hear it, put their fingers in their ears. A month after President Biden signed the bill, inflation climbed. We've been suffering the consequences ever since. President Biden said, no, it's transitory. No, it's not inflation. He had 100 excuses. It was here, and it was here to stay, and the Democrats caused it. To add problems on top of this, Democrats also raised taxes on nearly every tax bracket. Of course, this was a direct violation of the promises Joe Biden made to the American people. Democrats raised prices anyway. Joe Biden went and gave an inaugural address where he talked like he was going to work together. Not what happened. No, he went to the White House, killed the Keystone XL pipeline, and went far, far to the left. Raising taxes on American energy, raised taxes on natural gas. Natural gas powers about half the homes in the United States. Taxes on coal up $1 billion. That means everybody's paying higher prices. It's strangling our economy. It's strangling our energy production. It's wrong for the nation. You look at Joe Biden, he's smiling away like things are going well, completely out of touch with the families all across the country. We're still producing a lot less oil we are today than we were before the pandemic, and gas prices are going up. They're up about 40 cents already this year. They're predicted to go to over $4 a gallon by March because of the attack on American energy by this administration and this president. Democrats have taken a sledgehammer to our economy on each and every side. Higher taxes, higher spending, higher debt, less American energy. That's a Democrat policy in a nutshell. That is the Democrat economic policy. Higher taxes, higher spending, higher debt, less American energy. It's a policy for failure, a policy for pain for American families. I guess that's why right now, today in the United States, Joe Biden is the least popular Democrat president of the last 60 years. In New York, pounding his chest as he did in Virginia, he's going to do in Pennsylvania. Instead of bragging, he ought to be apologizing to the American people. He does owe the American people an apology for the damage and the destruction that he has inflicted because of his radical left-wing policies. His policies cause higher prices, cause higher interest rates, cause slower growth, cause much pain and much stress. So the American people are taking a look right now at the Biden economy, and they're not liking what they see. People want their money back. They want their future back. They want a future for their family. So if Joe Biden won't apologize, which is what he should do when he comes to Congress next week for the State of the Union, then he should at least announce that he's going to change course, try to make things better, announce he's going to stop this reckless spending that has brought us these problems, announce that he's finally going to unleash American energy, so energy is affordable, available, and reliable. That's what the American public is asking for and demanding. Working families in this country cannot afford any less. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.